I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. You know, we hear from a fair number of folks in Oregon that Measure 110, which decriminalized drugs, should be repealed, undone, overturned. And now Clackamas County voters will get a chance to let their voices be heard on that issue, at least in a symbolic way. The action Clackamas County commissioners took to make that happen today, that is our big story tonight. I just checked, and Clackamas County has roughly 310,000 registered voters this month. Yeah, they update it each month. 102,000 are not affiliated with any party, 102,000 are Democrats, and 83,000 are Republicans. But overall, I think the county feels like the most conservative in the metro area. So maybe it's not a surprise that the commissioners there, fed up with Measure 110, decided to ask voters what they think about it. The commissioners agreed to put two questions to voters during next year, during the May presidential primary election. They want voters to answer whether state lawmakers representing Clackamas County should be directed to do anything they can to fix or repeal ballot Measure 110. Commissioners also want voters to decide if they should demand that Governor Kotek call a special session to fix or overturn Measure 110. Now, I know some of you are rolling your eyes. Others are saying, hey, it's about time. It seems to me this is an obvious symbolic vote by the county commission, but Board Chair Tootie Smith told me today not so much. She hopes it actually pushes other government leaders to do the same thing.
It is sending a message, and I hope it makes a difference. I hope other jurisdictions will take what we're trying to do the same thing in either their cities or their counties to tell the legislature, you need to fix this problem. There are several bills in the legislative session dealing with Measure 110 to try to either change them or tweak them, and all of them didn't do anything. Instead, the legislature's answer is to spend more money on housing when we're not addressing why people need housing, why we have a homeless situation, and this is a very large cause of homelessness.
Well, yes, and we've heard from experts that the combination of mental illness and lack of affordable housing and drug use are common themes for those who are homeless. Smith told me that she personally believes Measure 110 should be repealed, and she believes a lot of voters now regret voting for that bill. So I asked if she feels that way, why doesn't she start an initiative petition to actually repeal the law instead of asking her county's lawmakers to see what they can do?
It's very difficult to gather enough signatures, as you know, Pat, statewide to do that. It's really not up to the Board of County Commissioners to do an initiative position. We could support those efforts, but this streamlines the process. It tells the legislature, you need to step up and you need to take the responsibility of what's happening in our state. You know, Pat, Oregon has become a laughingstock nationally. This is the only state in America who has decriminalized illicit and harmful drugs, and we've got to stop it.
Although, again, the most direct route to do that would be through an initiative petition if that's what you want the outcome to be. Instead, Clackamas voters will be asked to give the governor and their state lawmakers direction. Commissioners heard that putting those two questions to voters next spring is going to cost roughly $80,000 to $90,000. Taxpayers are going to foot the bill. Commissioner Ben West addressed that issue head on during their meeting today.
And by the way, I know it's expensive. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent on this really bad policy that have cost a lot of lives and a lot of heartache and a lot of social strife. So this is a drop in the bucket to the pain we're all feeling.
Anytime we talk about Measure 110 on this show, you let us hear it with your emails and your voicemails. Last night, we brought you a new PSU study that shows the majority of law enforcement sees 110 as a complete failure, probably no surprise, and many of you agreed.
Measure 110 is a total waste of time. All we're doing is telling drug addicts they can do drugs. You're just enabling. These people need to get a job. They need to go back to work. They need to be self-sufficient. Enough said.
And Nora wrote to us that Measure 110 is horrible. It needs to be repealed. Letting drug-addicted homeless have drugs without consequences and then expecting them to come to rehab is ridiculous. And how about this one from Joe? I will admit I voted in favor of Measure 110, but I've seen enough. Put it back on the ballot. Let the people decide again after what has happened to our city. A viewer named Mike wrote in with this unique and informed perspective. I am an addict. A core belief of any recovering addict is that their addiction problem got so painful that they needed to start recovery. Measure 110 does not allow the addict to experience enough pain, so they will start their recovery. Now, I know this will be hard for some of you to believe, but we have a very big tent here, and a lot of folks watch our show from all sorts of different political beliefs, and there are a lot of voters who think Measure 110 is the right way to go.
I personally think that Measure 110 is a very good measure. And, I personally believe that, they should be cutting funding out of the Multnomah County Jail and use that to build more mental health facilities.
Edward wrote to us, the criminal justice system spent decades on punitive drug policies and got nothing for it beyond giant prisons and overdose deaths. Of course, 110 could be improved, but even if it is far better than what we had before. And finally this from another viewer named Mike. It's none of my business what people put into their bodies as long as they don't do anything to me or others. Make drugs legal on the same model as booze. Even with draconian alcohol control, how many violent bootleggers do we have shooting up our streets? And that's just a sampling of how many of you feel about this. If you feel your blood pressure rising just thinking about Measure 110, you can always vent to our email inbox. We love when we get feedback from all sides. Send it to thestory@kgw.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090.